There are moments in life when the ordinary pace of events suddenly shifts, when time seems to bend, when doors that were once closed swing open without explanation, and when individuals who have long walked in the shadows are brought into the light. This is what some would call a season of acceleration, and it is not merely a pudic metaphor, it is a psychological and spiritual reality. It is the moment when cumulative effort, persistent endurance, and quiet faith converge into visible transformation. Many people spend their lives waiting for a break, waiting for recognition, waiting for something or someone to validate their existence. They work, they strive, and yet progress often feels glacial. But what few understand is that growth, real growth, is almost always hidden beneath the surface until the precise moment it bursts forth. Much like the bamboo tree, which spends years growing underground before shooting up rapidly in what seems like an overnight success, human development follows a similar pattern. And those who have felt overlooked, who have been marginalized, who have been walking through the wilderness, these are the very individuals on the cusp of such acceleration. This process, however, is not random. It is the consequence of alignment with a deeper sense of purpose, with values that transcend the superficial, and with an unwavering commitment to something greater than oneself. In Christian thought, this alignment is often described as a surrender to divine will, a readiness to act when called. But even outside a strictly religious framework, the principle holds there comes a time when the work that has been done in secret prepares the ground for extraordinary change. The danger, of course, is to give up too soon. Most people never see their season of acceleration because they abandon the process right before it unfolds. They walk away from their commitments when results are not immediate. They grow cynical when their efforts appear fruitless. And that is precisely the psychological and spiritual trap that must be avoided. The threshold of breakthrough is often the most difficult terrain to cross because the pressure intensifies as the reward draws near. This is the valley where many lose heart. In a world obsessed with instant gratification, the concept of delayed reward feels alien. But that is precisely why those who endure, who persist with integrity, become so rare and so powerful. The very act of continuing, of not succumbing to bitterness or despair, shapes the individual into someone capable of handling the acceleration when it arrives. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: not everyone is ready for the breakthrough they pray for. Not everyone has built the psychological and emotional structure necessary to sustain rapid growth or success. Acceleration without preparation is dangerous. We see it in those who rise too fast without the character to support the ascent. They collapse under the weight of their own unpreparedness. That's why the waiting seasons, the years of invisibility, are not wasted. They are essential. They build resilience, humility, wisdom, and the ability to discern right from wrong when power or opportunity is finally placed in one's hands. There is also a spiritual dimension to this acceleration. In Christian thought, God is not merely waiting for the right moment to bless his people. He is actively shaping them into vessels worthy of carrying greater purpose. And when the acceleration comes, it often has less to do with material gain and more to do with being positioned to influence, to serve, and to bring light into dark places. That is the higher calling hidden within the breakthrough. Those who sense this shift approaching must be vigilant. Now is not the time to grow complacent. Now is the time to sharpen focus, to cleanse the heart of resentment, to commit once more to the principles that anchor one's life. The acceleration is not only external, it must also be internal. Character must grow as quickly as opportunity appears. Integrity must rise to meet influence. Courage must stand ready to act when the moment demands it. The beauty of this season is that it doesn't require perfection, only willingness. Willingness to endure a little longer, to trust a little deeper, to act when the door opens rather than hesitating in fear. And this is where many faltered. They pray for change, but shrink back when change arrives. The path of the chosen, the path of those ready for acceleration, requires stepping forward even when uncertainty clouds the outcome. And so I leave you with this: you may be closer than you think. The breakthrough you've long awaited may already be set in motion behind the scenes of your life. Your only task is to remain faithful, to stay steady, and to be ready, because when the acceleration comes, it will come swiftly, and those who are prepared will not only rise, they will shine. When a person enters a season of acceleration, something extraordinary happens. The pace of life quickens, opportunities arise, doors swing open that were once firmly shut. But what many fail to realize is that with this sudden forward momentum comes an equally heightened need for discernment. The faster you move, the more precise your choices must be. The higher you climb, the more dangerous a single misstep becomes. And herein lies a profound psychological and spiritual truth. Elevation without wisdom is an invitation to collapse. Discernment is often overlooked because it is quiet. It doesn't draw attention the way ambition or action does. It is an internal compass, calibrated not by external applause, but by an unwavering commitment to truth. And in times of acceleration, when emotions run high and the temptation to grasp at every open door presents itself, discernment becomes the safeguard that prevents you from drifting into destruction disguised as opportunity. One of the most dangerous assumptions people make in moments of breakthrough is that every new offer, every new person, every open door is sent for their good. But growth attracts both the genuine and the deceptive. The higher you rise, the more visible you become, not only to those who support your journey, but also to those who seek to exploit it. This is as true psychologically as it is spiritually. The world, and particularly the human psyche, is filled with figures who, consciously or unconsciously, attach themselves to rising individuals not to contribute but to consume. That's why discernment must not be based solely on appearances. It must go deeper. It must ask difficult questions. Does this path align with my core values? Does this person's presence enhance or drain my energy? Is this opportunity something I feel truly called to, or is it a distraction dressed as progress? These are the kinds of inquiries that those without discernment avoid, because they require introspection. They demand a willingness to say no to good things in order to say yes to the right things. In many ways, discernment is the guardian of destiny. Without it, the very acceleration you've waited for can become the means of your undoing. We see this pattern repeatedly in individuals who, after years of obscurity, finally step into prominence, only to be ensnared by poor relationships, unwise financial decisions, or egocentric pursuits. The acceleration itself was not the problem. The absence of discernment was. It's important to understand that discernment is not simply a passive state of mind. It is an active discipline. It requires cultivating stillness in the midst of speed. It calls for the development of what ancient philosophers termed prudence, the ability to see beyond immediate gratification and short-term gain toward long-term well-being and alignment with purpose. In Christian thought, this is often referred to as the gift of wisdom or spiritual sight, the capacity to see beneath the surface, to perceive the true nature of people's circumstances and intentions. And whether one approaches this from a spiritual, philosophical, or psychological perspective, the principle remains the same. Discernment is what separates those who thrive in acceleration from those who implode under its weight. Furthermore, discernment also involves knowing when to pause. Acceleration does not mean that every step must be taken at full speed. There are moments in the climb where a temporary halt, an intentional breath, allows you to regain clarity, to reassess, and to ensure that the next move is the right move. The absence of this reflective pause often leads to burnout, poor judgment, and costly mistakes. In the psychological landscape, discernment protects against manipulation. It allows an individual to recognize when others are projecting their own agendas, when flattery is masking exploitation, when promises are hollow. Narcissists, for example, thrive on the impulsiveness of their targets. They move swiftly, love bomb intensely, and create emotional confusion that disables critical thinking. A discerning mind sees through the smoke and mirrors, resists the seduction of false praise, and stands firm on principle rather than emotion. At its core, discernment is about alignment, remaining true to oneself and to a higher calling, even when acceleration tempts you to deviate. It is the voice that whispers, Not every open door is meant to be walked through. It is the inner warning that says, be careful whom you allow close in this new season. And so the challenge for those stepping into acceleration is this: do not be so intoxicated by the speed of your ascent that you lose sight of the ground beneath your feet. Stay grounded. Stay thoughtful. Choose carefully. Because the reality is, the higher you go, the more you must protect the integrity of your journey. In the end, discernment is not just a tool for survival. It is the key to sustained, meaningful growth. Those who carry it walk not only faster but farther. And when the acceleration comes, as it surely will, let it find you not only ready but wise,